Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for holding space with Crystal and I in these moments. You are here with me. I'm Mandee from Sea Goddess Healing Arts, and beautiful Crystal from Mitten Medium and Spirit Speaks.
Yes, she's like, who is she today?
That's my girl. She's a shapeshifter.
I got lots of names. We'll just put it that way.
Spirit Speaks with the Mitten Medium. I think we're going.
She's right. She's right. She's right.
I love it. So thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to take a few moments here and ground in. And then after we ground in and invite in a few moments of soul space, then we'll get into the topics of tonight. So if you want, take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And release. In through your nose. Hold it. And release. Angels, archangels, spirit guides, helper beings of the highest good, our higher selves, ancestors, creator, and sea goddess. Thank you so much for being with Crystal and I during this amazing sacred soul space. Thank you for supporting each and every being who tunes into this video and shares soul space with us. Thank you for surrounding us in white and blue light and protecting us as you pass along any messages or topics or light codes or energy that you may want to pass through Crystal and I today. And so it is. Amen. Aho.
Thank you. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I've got all this stuff and I'm like, thank God it doesn't show my face when you're talking, because I'm like a squirrel right now. I'm so everywhere today. It's just been a weird energy.
What's wrong with that? Maybe you can spend a day being a squirrel.
Well, we had an investigation on Saturday that I wasn't going to go to because my son had to work and I had to take him to work and then pick him up. So I wasn't going to be, or I wouldn't be home to do that. And we ended up going because he called into work. And then I was like, oh, I got an invitation. They were like, hey, because it was at a bed and breakfast, we had to pay for it. And they were like, hey, we have an extra room available. Do you guys want to come last minute? Coolest experience of my life being there that night. I love spirit. I love spirit. And I don't know how you feel like when you channel a lot, or when you get I don't know okay, so I know what happened on Saturday. There was a lot of information coming in from a lot of different people, and there was a lot of channeling and a lot of playing off from energies. And so that night I went to bed and didn't go to sleep, like could not sleep at all, because spirit just kept talking to me all night while I was trying to get some sleep. And so like the next day I was so exhausted. I was so tired. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. So like, I feel like I'm kind of like still in that spiritual hangover type of energy, but it's almost like I've got my energy back a little bit. And so now it's like, phew. And it was really cool because I got to experience spirit in ways that I haven't in a long time. And I really, really love that. I love it when spirit scared the crap out of me. This dude stepped right in my face and I was like, I took off and I told Ben, like, I talk a big game about not being scared. Tell everybody, don't be scared. Whatever comes through, don't be scared. So where I'm going to tell you, I am completely full of shit when that comes to spirit that shows itself in human form and stands right in front of my face. And so we're sitting there and we're looking at this fireplace. I'm actually going to ask the founder, Scott, to give me the clip so everybody can see what a chicken I am. But we're looking at this fireplace and trying to figure out the art on the fireplace. And then we hear a door open. Well, it gets caught on camera. This door only opened 3 times that night. We went and I tried to shut it and somebody physically pulled the door out of my hand. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're standing there. And then I hear this other noise that takes off. So I look over to try to figure out what the noise was, because I thought it was another door opening. And there's a kitchen door kind of right by the other door. And I turned to face, and there was a man standing right in front of my face, like this close to my face. And I was like, wow. Explicits. And then I took off the other way. And when everybody else sees the medium running in the other way, they went the other way too. And so I dropped and I'm just like, crap. And I told Ben, I'm like, if you pay attention to me, spirit never scares me if I can tell their spirit. Humans though, terrify me. And the whole night there was this guy that was roaming around outside, and they left windows open because it was really humid. And my mind went to, this is a human that broke into this space. And so I
Mm.
wasn't going to be the last one standing there. I watch enough horror movies. I know how that ends. I ain't that girl. So I always run from people. I don't stick around. I'll push people in the way of the people. And it's just like the coolest thing, but it also like startles the crap out of me. And you can actually hear me, like I stand up and I'm like, I hate it when they do that, because it's just like, don't stand in my face, you know, like give me a room and like try to whatever. But it was a cool experience. There were a lot of Masons that were coming through, Freemasons that were giving us cool energy and playing with us and really validating things with a spirit box. It was a cool conversation that night. It was neat. I won't forget it. It was a cool experience, but I feel like I'm still kind of like vibing off from that energy, because like the last 2
and
weeks.
You had major adrenaline shoot through you. Like that's that fight or flight. That's that cortisol when that happens.
Yeah.
And we experience something, whether it's a ghost or, you know, something falling or whatever it is, you know, it rocks us and it shakes us. And sometimes we'll ride that energy for a while. And we're in retrograde right now. And there's a lot of, we just finished, you know, 2 eclipses, and there's a lot of soul contracts being rewritten and new things happening, and the veils are thinner. And I'm someone who, I have firm boundaries with that. Like, I was just talking to someone about this last night. Like, I don't really see ghosts. Like, have I? Yes. Do I believe they exist? Yes. Do I, you know, but I don't see them often. And when a vision like that comes in for me, it'll startle me. Like, I'm like, that's a big deal. If like a major like visual comes in front of me, or I see an actual apparition or something. And I feel like from what I've learned, and I'd love for you to give me your opinion on this, it seems like it takes a lot of energy for them to be able to show themselves to us in that form, and that it's actually kind of a rare thing from what I can understand.
It takes a lot of energy for them to do that. It also takes a lot of energy for them to channel. But to show themselves in a solid form like that, yes, they would have had to have been manipulating all energy. And it was just like, there was a storm, there was a lot of equipment, there was all sorts of stuff. It was just a perfect storm, so to speak, for them to manifest that energy. But it was just like a whole thing, just kind of, it was like boom, boom, boom. And then everything, I was like, okay, so, you know, spirit, there's no coincidence. It just is. And so it was one of those perfect examples of, that's the coolest thing on earth. And that was the reason why I didn't know that I was seeing spirit. People are like, okay, well, if you saw him when you were a kid, you know, how couldn't you know that that's what it was? Well, because first off, I saw them as people. Spirits looked like full solid people to me. There's no like see-through, there's no blue haze. They look like solid people to me. And so as I got older and got my boundaries, like you said, you have firm boundaries. Once I start channeling and have my boundaries a little bit more, spirit doesn't come around like that very often anymore. And so when they do, it startles me, because I'm not used to it the way that I used to be. And so I'm like, yeah, you got to understand there's layers to fear, y'all. And if you're scared of seeing and experiencing things, well, then spirit's not going to give it to you. And so you have to be open to interpret, and then also make your boundaries from there, like Mandee said.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not an easy thing. And it takes a lot of trial and error and presence and experience, just like everything in life. Like, it takes us a long time to learn ourselves and our own energy, to learn our own patterns and habits and things that aren't serving us or getting us where we want to be. And then it takes a long time to just speak our truths, or even just say no when we, you know, like when we're obligated to often say yes. And like, it starts really small with like us. And then once you start to get a handle on your personal boundaries, then you're able to start really doing it with spirit and whatnot too. But if you're someone who's tuning in and you're highly sensitive, you're an empath, you're someone who's accessing some of this spiritual stuff and it is scaring you, always know you are in control of spirit. And right now, no matter how far along you are on your path, you can say, please soften that. Please turn it down. There's a lot of ear ringing going on, and headaches and different things and pains. There's visions happening. There's a lot of dreams, a lot of things on the astral plane right now. And you can always just take a breath, take a beat, and take a moment and ask your angels, hey, I'm grateful. I love connecting to spirit, but like, can we tone it down a little bit? Could I take a break? Or, you know what? Hey, no, I'm good. Like, no, stranger danger. I do not want this right now. And they will shut it down. And that's what happens with a lot of us. We're very connected as children, almost all of us. I don't think I've met a kid who isn't. And it'll scare us sometimes, and we'll shut it down then. And because spirit respects our boundaries so much, and because of the laws of this universe, we have to invite it back in and open it back up and build a new and safe relationship.
It's funny that you say that, because I just had a client earlier today that we were talking about that. She wanted, it's funny because like when people set up appointments for me, they don't always tell me what they want. And so I'm like sitting here, and I don't know if you experience the same thing, but it's almost like, when I'm thinking I'm channeling for spirit and they really want to meet with their guides, it's like nothing. It's like spirit just gives me crickets. It's like, nope, you're not who we need. And so they're just sitting there waiting for something to happen. I'm like, whoa. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so what were your intentions behind like reaching out to me? Don't tell me why you were here and, definition or whatever, but what do you hope to receive? Like, are you wanting to talk to somebody specific, yes or no? And, or are you wanting to talk to your guides because you got so woman's completely gifted. And she's sitting there and I was like, I don't think people put 2 and 2 together, that human boundaries are no different from spirit boundaries. Like
it's true.
It's the same flipping thing. It's the same thing. You have to say no or yes, and you have to be definite. Also, question, do you do house cleansings?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ben and I were talking about this the other day, because we were talking about the intentions and how we have to set our own space and intentions. Okay.
I love that. That's like what I do.
Yes. But how do you feel about constantly going back and doing something for somebody instead of like them doing it for themselves? Because I'm like, okay, so I'm under the impression sometimes, especially if it's really negative energy, you're not going to know how to handle that yourself. So call somebody if that's the case. But I really try to teach people how to do the cleansings themselves so that they can keep it up in their own house, because it's like spirit sees me coming in, and as soon as I leave, they're like, okay, she's gone. She's the one that put the energy into this, not the homeowner. And now the homeowner in a week or two is going to have to do it all over again, because they're not the one setting the intention of their space. So I was like, how does Mandee feel about that? Because Ben and I were like, I can't set intentions for people. We can do it together the first time, like together. Yeah. What do you want? Write this down. What do you want? And we'll go through and we'll say that together. But you really got to find it in you to have that fire and be like, boom, get out of my house, or this is what I want in my house, and call that in yourself. How do you feel about that?
Same way. I do the same thing. When I go into a house, I'm like, hi, like, this is amazing. Congratulations. Usually it's someone, coming, or like after a chapter, maybe it's someone who's keeping her house, but got a divorce, or someone who lost a partner, or there's just been a lot of trauma and drama, and they're like, we're trying to heal and like start something new. So, there's just this shift in energy that's invited or needs to happen. Yeah. So when I show up, what I do is I usually bring a little kit. I have a candle, and I have sage and matches or a lighter, and usually some crystals or whatever else. It depends on the client and whatever I feel called to bring for that one, but definitely always a candle and sage to keep them going. And the purpose of sage, white sage in particular, is an amazing and sacred plant. It's important with sage and Palo Santo to make sure that we're not over harvesting it, to make sure it's coming from respectable and regional places. Yes. And the other thing is too, like, say you do get gifted some sage from, Five Below or something, or, whatever it is. And my dog wanted to come in. Sorry, interrupting.
It's okay. We love the puppy. It's cool.
We're dog fans around here. So what happens is people will sometimes just feel guilty because they have that, or like, I don't know if this was ethically sourced, or where it came from, or, oh my gosh, what if I have one of these like bad Palo Santos, and there's all these things. And so whatever it is, if you get it, say thank you. This is amazing. And you know what? If you grew up with chemicals and you were raped and pillaged and burned and all the things, like, I'm really glad you landed here, and I bless you and I cleanse you, and thank you for helping me to bless and cleanse my space, because I'm like, I don't think you're a reject. Like, you made your way to me and you're helping serve me. And so it doesn't matter what any kind of, however it shows up, it's important to honor it and acknowledge it and do your part to, not exploit the plants, to not exploit the planet. But at the same time, if something that you get, even like we see with crystals, Oh, is it a good crystal? Is it not a good crystal? I believe crystals find their owners, and like, you know, they're all perfect and great for that chapter or what they're made to be. And it's about the intention that you put on it, because intention is so powerful and so strong. And that's what keeps us all free or bound, honestly, a lot of the times, is our beliefs and our intentions. So when I get to a house, I will light a candle and I'll light a little bit of sage, which we're gonna burn some now while we're talking about it. And I'll say an overall prayer, and I'll let the person or people or couple or whoever it is know, hey, the whole point of this is to create really nice, fresh, clean space. And darker energies, they're like, what's happened? And, you know, sometimes I'll see if there was like abuse or trauma or, God forbid, a murder, which is like more rare, and things like that, you know, whatever. I might see some of that darker stuff, but usually it's more like I see somebody who, like a woman who fought with her husband all the time in the kitchen, and I see leftover energy of, like, you know, anger kicking around, or frustration, or sadness, or resentment. There's a lot of resentment that hangs over kitchen sinks where everybody meditates and does their dishes, or the bathroom, the toilet. There's so much energy over that because everybody literally sits there and thinks, not only, you know, takes a shit, but thinks about their shit. So it's fascinating, like the amount of energy that can get stagnant and stuck up in there. Or if someone's just really sad, like, you know, like one time I was clearing this house and I had this like energy of this little boy who would like go into the basement and cry. I think it was like his only safe space. So there was like some sadness. So like, that's what these energies are. And so what happens is, so Crystal, she's all on a high vibe day and riding her wave and feeling really good today. But say she was on a lower day, or like, you know, any of us, like on a lower day, we can be susceptible to the energies around us sometimes. So if you and your husband had a big fight in the kitchen, and, you know, you come home from work the next day and you go right back into that same energy, you might pick up some of that. You might start feeling overwhelmed or angry again or sad again. Like, these are not only our inner demons, but they become external demons that get out into our energy field. And it's important that we transmute them. According to the laws of the universe, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed and transmuted. So it's important to cleanse it and recalibrate it and honor it, you know? And so what I do is I go with the couple or the person, whoever it is, into each and every in each room, and I'm like, what's your intention for the kitchen? And at first people are like a little uncomfortable. It starts kind of weird, like, I don't know, I want to like make good food.
I was like, oh,
whatever.
do the dishes, make some food, have some family. I don't know.
Exactly. But then people start to get really into it. Then we got into the next room, and they're like, actually, you know, I want to like use like my grandmother's china once a year, and I want to, you know, create memories here. And this is where we could have some of our talks. And then like this one room, one time I was doing it for this couple in Florida, and this one room we got to, and they both started crying, and they're like, this could be our peace room, and this is where we could come after we have a fight to talk, and let's put some meditative pillows here, and maybe we'll hang a hammock. And like, because we don't even think, we're just so trained and programmed to like, you know, just keep carrying on without acknowledging. And as much as, you know, Crystal and I are big advocates, and a lot of our other healer friends, of releasing victimhood, it's also important to honor, you know, where your authentic feelings were at that time, to let them be felt, and then to transmute them. So there's so much that goes into it, and we're not taught it. And so just by opening up the space and having someone come to your house and be like, what's your intention for this room? It opens up a whole new ball game. And the bedrooms end up being beautiful places where people want to, you know, make love or do all these things. And sometimes, you know, one of the partners will have a fantasy that comes out, and the other partner will be like, what? Like, I didn't know that. Now, you know, how can we maybe make this happen, or whatever it is. And so it's real, it's fresh, it's raw, it's vulnerable, but it's beautiful, and it's there to serve you. So I sage every time I vacuum. It's part of my house cleaning. Sage is not only amazing to clear all the stagnant energy that's left over from our human bullshit, but it's also antimicrobial, antibacterial. It clears everything, viruses right up. And a lot of people don't like the smell of it. And I didn't at first either, but I learned that if you have an aversion to the smell of it, a lot of times it's because you have things
you need it.
You need it. And then all of a sudden you're like, one day you're like, I kind of like the smell of that. And it's because, you know, it kind of did its job. It served you. So Every time I come home, every time I have a client, it's like there's sage everywhere. Every time I'm done with a client, I say, angels, thank you so much for allowing me to be of service. Please, cut the cords and send all their energy back to them and bring my energy back to me and help us along our own paths for the highest good. And then I come back in. And yeah, if I have a rough day or if I'm talking to somebody or whatever it is, I light it and use it all the time. So I'll leave the candle and I'll leave the sage, and we'll usually write down a prayer or a couple things. And I'll be like, now this is up to you to maintain this, to bring it in after you get in a fight, after you have a bad day, after you just need some extra support or some prayer. Now this part comes to you, because the only person who can heal you and your energy and your space is you. I can just give you the tools and teach you how to do it.
So it's really cool. First off, you always bring stuff up, and it's like getting the talk in a different way, because once again, we talk to a lot of, I don't know, I know you do because I send clients to you. We talk to a lot of people who have never thought about things in a specific way before, which it always is like that light bulb moment that clicks on and they're like, oh yeah, like I never thought of that. So first off, when I'm going back to what you said about sage, I love that you addressed sage and how it is grown and how it is harvested. That is so incredibly important. But she also stated, if you don't know where the source came from and you're worried about whatever, I think of it this way. Okay. If I'm hunting, I don't want to just kill an animal. I would never just kill an animal and just leave its carcass there for no reason. Okay. That's taking a life, that's taking an energy and just eradicating it. So even if the sage is gifted to you or you don't know where it's come from, or crystals, whatever, turn it into something different and use it anyway, because then it's not dying in vain. Okay. Thank it, gift it, send the energy back. That's kind of how I look at the process. And I'm like, okay, so maybe we don't know how that, if you're buying it though, make sure you talk to the person who is harvesting it. Make sure you know their story. That I can say. I really am a big advocate of Palo Santo harvesting and sage, white sage, California white sage specifically. It takes a long time to grow that crap. And so we have to understand and honor where the plant came from. But you also were talking about like the cleansing, and I'm going to make a questionnaire. You literally just made some, I was like, I'm going to make a questionnaire now that I send to people before I do the cleansing.
I love that.
Because it's like, why haven't I thought of that before? Because you're talking about all the things that I do, but then it gives them time to think about what their intentions are for the space. And it gives them time to kind of really sit and feel what that is. And then I was going to say something else, but squirrel, like I said, it's all over the place. And so whatever, it's gone. It went
well,
right
it made
on
me
out.
think about that. You can do the same thing with bottled water. So obviously, we've got a lot going on with water in our world, and clean water and water crisis. And then we feel guilty for drinking out of plastic bottles and wasting plastic and the potential chemicals we're getting from it and all the stuff.
Yep.
You can transmute your water. You know what? Like there's a lot of other countries where people aren't getting clean water, and, and we can question whether or not ours is clean or whatever, chemically induced or whatever it is. Either way, doesn't matter if it's dirty or this or that, or if it was sitting in a bottle. You can pour it into a glass and say a prayer over it and transmute it. Water is the most impressionable energy we have. We're 70, 80% water, or whatever we are. There's scientific experiments being done now on what it looks like when you yell at water, when you speak to it in peace and harmony, what it feels like. It attaches to, they're showing what it looks like when it hears certain music. So it's fascinating, and we can always cleanse and heal and recalibrate almost everything.
So that's what it was. My guides were like, oh, she knows now. So sage, going back to sage, a lot of people don't think of it this way, because I also run into clients who might have asthma, or they might have a husband or a spouse or somebody like that doesn't like the smell of sage. So diffusers, get full on sage oil, stick that in your diffuser with whatever else that you want. And if you have a really spicy house with really spicy people, put a drop of holy water in that thing and allow it to go in your space. I usually tell people to make sure they have a diffuser if there's really ugly energy that they can't really sage and do stuff with, because then they know what the intention is of the diffuser and what they want the properties of it to be. They can stick it in their living space, the main living space where, we have those feisty teens or angsty husbands or angsty wives, whoever it may be. And I also talk about
all of them
doing it in the bedroom. Okay. Because then it helps you sleep and it helps you guys dissolve, resolve, or just kind of get some peace prior to sleeping, because a lot of us in the land out there, is how I'll put this, don't necessarily know how to argue correctly and communicate our needs to our partners and then
Let's
resolve
talk
things.
about that a little bit.
They don't know how to resolve. And so in our household, much like Mandee, anytime there's a disagreement, anytime we clean the house, anytime there's anything, we sage afterwards, because it's not about getting rid of the negativity. It's about placing light back into where you're placing light. It's about keeping the light source within the space. And yes, the going through the motions and doing the ritual of cleansing and going into each room, you're telling it this is what you want, and you're pushing those energies out, but you're also filling it back up with love. You can't take something away without filling it back up. And that is so important to understand what you're doing throughout the cleansing, so to speak, because, you know, okay, so we had a really big fight. And so we don't like each other right now, but we're going to walk through the house and we're going to cleanse together, and we're going to say it together, and we're going to set the intention together. And then we're going to sit down, take a breath, do what we need to do, and communicate what happened, what my perspective was, what his perspective was, what we want going further, and how we're going to resolve and do things each other based on what that looks like. And so those are all the things that I feel like people don't necessarily understand behind the rituals of what some of the stuff it is that we do as a whole. So that's what I was going to say.
I love that. And it's fantastic and important. And, you know, we're not taught to fight fair, or if we have a fight, how to forgive each other. And we hold resentments like crazy, and we keep things in the past. Well, you did this one time, so I can never trust you again for my entire life. And
but it's really because somebody else did something to me and it made me feel the same way, but I don't know how to resolve that within myself. So I'm going to blame you anyway.
Exactly. It's why we're all just victims raising victims, but we're working on releasing victim mentality at the same time. We're all fragile little beings here. But it's
we
true.
all do it. That was not a personal attack, y'all. It was not.
Oh,
we're all guilty.
We're all guilty. We didn't know. None of us knew. We're just doing the best we can and trying to have the healthiest relationships we can without being taught what that looks like. So, you know, it's okay. And it's interesting because in the spiritual community a lot, I hear of a lot of people who like to have separate bedrooms as their spouses, or separate spaces for sleep time. And because it's an energy thing and they feel it. And here's the thing, our biomagnetic field goes out 68 feet around us. And when we're constantly laying with a partner all the time, which is beautiful and great and amazing, we also can sometimes intermesh that too much. So if you're fighting, if you're not understanding each other, it actually taking breath and space and a beat could actually help you come back together quicker. And there's like, you know, a lot of like superstitions, like never go to bed angry and never go to bed, you know, separate from each other.
Sometimes you gotta have
things
a
like
space.
that. Sometimes you have to, in order to dissipate the anger, in order to find, you know, the peace and the solitude and the different perspective, you need that space. You need to get into your own little space in your own biomagnetic field, which I said is 6 to 8 feet around you. So that means like maybe you want to go sleep in the guest room or on the couch or go for a walk or whatever it is. But I just think you brought up such a potent part to fair fighting, which is diffusing. And not when you feel yourselves getting triggered, to not keep going, not keep fighting, not keep like, you know, being like, okay, definitely triggered, gonna say things I don't want to say, like whatever. I need to eat a stick in the woods. I got a lot of anger. It doesn't need to come out at you right now, whatever it is, and say thank you to the stick if you beat the stick. But
thank you for this energy.
Yeah. It's happy to help you heal too. And then there's this amazing exercise I learned about from one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Rebecca Campbell, who I always talk about. And I learned at one of at her retreat that a really nice exercise you can do with yourself, but also with a partner, is called facts or feelings. And at the end of the day, like if there's something on your mind or your partner did something to bug you, to have a talk about it and say, well, was that a fact or was that a feeling? And like an example of a way you can do it with yourself is, okay, like what was my day like today? And oh, you know what? It was so horrible. We'll just use an example. I went to Starbucks and got a coffee, and the girl who made it, she totally messed it up, and she was such a bitch, and she did it on purpose, and like it just like ruined my whole day. And like, so if we go back and look at it, we're like, is that a fact or is that a feeling? Did you associate all those feelings because you got a effed up coffee? Like, people are human, things could happen. Are you sure like she was out to get you? Like maybe you just got the wrong one. Maybe it was a human error. Maybe you had attracted it to yourself because you were already stewing in negative. So you attract, you know, maybe you made that happen. Like, who knows? There's so many possibilities. But when it comes down to it, it's that you're riding in the feelings of this almost insignificant experience,
Mm.
and then letting it carry, you out through the rest of your day. Same thing with your partners. Like, is it a factor of feeling like, you think I'm fat and ugly? Like, did I ever say that? Like, is that, no, I think you're beautiful and incredible. And why would you think that? And so a lot of times our feelings can get really like, because we're not communicating. So if we have a talk, things that are bothering us or on our minds, and say, is this a fact or is this a feeling? Which that can end up turning into a bit of an argument too. But usually it brings a little bit more enlightenment, or being like, well, I can see how you feel that way, or that wasn't my intention. I was doing that on autopilot and I didn't realize like it would have that effect. And like, I'm really sorry. And now I can be more aware. So all of these things, all they're there to do is just help us to all find more peace and harmony within ourselves and within each other. And I think it's beautiful that you guys are inviting in fear fighting, and that you're teaching, clients like what, the sage and other tools and things can do to support you and them while they go through it.
Yeah. See, like, so I don't know how many people still know me from when I first started my business. I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. Ben has been married twice and divorced. So we are not perfect when it comes to this. And so we really had to learn. Okay, we could have gotten married a third time and said, let's throw all caution to the wind and be assholes for the rest of our lives and keep on the cycle. But I was done with the cycle. And I told him even before we got together, like, this isn't going to be what we are. Like, this is how I want things to be. And if you can't follow that, then that's cool. Go find somebody else who has your needs, wants in tune. But this is what I need and this is what I want, and not going to put up with anything else. So I was very, very honest about the situation to begin with. And it's because communication is something that a lot of people just do not understand. It's a lot of self-love, and it's a lot of, imagine you're talking to a child, okay? And I know that sounds condescending to people, because that's literally how I address things with Ben sometimes. I look at him, I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm going to repeat to you what you said with the energy that you said it in. Like, is that how you meant it to be at me? Like, is this the energy that you meant to portray to me right now? Or were you just like frustrated, or were you this, or were you this? Because we have to work on how your energy is being given to other people. We have to work on that, because I'm not okay with it.
Comes from our inner child.
Yeah.
And, and that people take offense to that. And they're like, don't talk to me like I'm a kid or whatever it is. But sometimes just slowing it down a little, or getting a little, it's one thing if you're like, well, did you do this? Like, then you're an ass. Don't act.
No, and then we talk about it.
If you want to slow it down.
And he's learned through this. It would be cool to have Ben here right now, just because he could talk about himself and I wouldn't have to throw him under the bus. But he has learned through this that he has never been taught to really pay attention to his own energy and how he portrays himself. He has like no clue what he puts out, because he's never been asked to understand how he's communicating things. And so even though sometimes he means it in the most sincere way, he may be, vibing off from his job from the day, and he just didn't leave it at the door, and he's coming home and he's like giving me the energy. And just like you said, when we sleep with people, you got to understand, if you're an empath, like if you're somebody who is more empathic and more open, there's different levels. I'm an empath on steroids, and I want my own house. So it is not even sleeping in a separate bedroom. Him and I can have two houses that have a bridge that connects it in the middle. And after we're done with intimacy, he can go over to his house. I don't really care. I'll stay connected. But at the end of the day, my house needs to be my sanctuary. And we need to be honest with ourselves sometimes and honor the fact that we can't constantly be surrounded by people. I can't. I need to have my complete downtime, my space to myself, and quiet. It's just as much for everybody as it is for me. It's not just about me and my needs. It's also about, I feel everything. And when I'm feeling the universe and these shifts, these changes, retrograde, those eclipses that we've got going, those throw me off. And then I have my clients also, and then I have this going on. And so you guys just have to understand there's a lot of things happening. And when you feel that buzz, it's almost like you're stuck in a beehive and having those vibrations bounce off from you all the time. And that's going to create your anxiety. And then you're going to be anxious, and then you're going to be snippy. And then it's just going to be a complete mental, emotional breakdown. You have to take care of your energy. And if you need space, tell your partner. You have to be honest with them. If they take offense to you needing your space, you need to look at them and say, okay, so what about that makes you feel this way? What about me needing my space makes you feel like somehow I'm not honoring you? And then go from there and get down to the nitty gritty and keep asking the questions, because essentially it just means at some point in time in their life, they weren't looked at, loved, held, coddled, cradled the way that they needed to. And they're afraid that you're separating your energy because they have a fear of being alone.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's this.
I've been guilty of that lots of times.
Me too. I feel like all of us who have been raised in situations where we feel like that probably trigger that back in our own. I mean, we essentially, we go through the same thing with our spouses.
Men need space and time to go out and to process, and they learn by trial and error, by fucking things up and fixing them. And like, you know, like, and women, like I work with women all the time, and I've been that woman, like I'm fully aware, you know, and I had to heal it or change it, where we would just take it all so personally. Well, he doesn't want to talk to me. He's not, you know, around, like he's taking
just not that into
like,
me.
He's just not that into me, which sometimes he's not. Like, that's true. Like, you know, and we want people to be into us who aren't. And it's important to communicate our feelings. And if they're not into you, they're not into you. And to bow out gracefully and to trust that the universe and God and your higher self have somebody who's going to be in a better vibration for you coming in at this time, which is brave work and hard work to do. And to just give people the space and to let them know. You see it a lot with mothers, and daughters are very close too, and different, you know, different energies where you can get a little codependent on things, and where, you know, especially when you've been on the cycle for a long time with someone and you're trying to create healthier new boundaries, you'll feel that attached come in. And it's always just so important to say, hey, listen, I love you. I respect you. I want you in my life. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm healing myself right now. And I'm like, you know, buzzing out, and I need to go and take some time to like calm my energy down, to speak with my angels and my soul, and to come back to this, you know, this relationship, this situation as a better version of myself and a cleaner version of myself at this time. And I just want you to send me love and blessings during that. Is that okay? Is there something you're needing right now that I'm leaving you hanging on that I could help you with real quick before I go take that space, or that I can help you with that? Because sometimes it's like, you know, women especially are like, well, you know, he's not here, but I needed him to like do all this stuff. And like, you know, and I'll see a lot with clients or things like that. And it's like, if we just communicate, you know, and then people get resentful. Well, I've already asked him to take out the trash 8 times this week and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but there's still the same pattern going on in some way or somehow. And when we stop reacting or getting passive aggressive or annoyed, and we just take a breath and actually properly communicate, then sometimes you have to choose to leave a situation or a relationship, because people won't respect your boundaries, or don't encourage your growth, or don't want to grow and heal their own shadows at the time, and just want to keep yelling or reacting or using a substance or whatever it is. So, you know, that's the longest relationship you have is with yourself. It's the only one that you have your whole entire life. And every single other one is a gift, and it's temporary, and it's there to love us, grow us, and teach us, even the worst experiences. So, you know, this is not an easy dance, and we're all figuring it out and navigating it together the best we can.
I think it's kind of funny how healing is changing. If you look back at it, I mean, like when you channel for and see clients that are more, I don't want to say elderly, I'm going to get smacked through this Zoom meeting. But if like channel for
generational differences,
let's talk about grandparents and parents of us, like our generations. These poor people had nothing. Okay. They didn't have mental health awareness. They didn't have people who sat around and was like, oh, let's talk about it. They had all these things that just like were accumulated spaces in their households, and they just had to deal with it. Okay. And then you also have to go back. Like, they literally have to go back, and children, even it didn't matter if they were being beat or whatever by their parents. It didn't matter. Abuse was just normal. And that we've just over the last couple of generations, if you think about it, have just gotten into the space that you can't do that to your freaking kids. Why did it take so long? But then we have to really understand that our people, our older generations, are built off from that. They had to be tough at 5 freaking years old. Is that fair to them? Like, come on now, give them some freaking love, because they didn't have somebody to love them. They didn't have somebody to hold them and tell them everything was going to be okay. They felt their whole life that they were not secure and they weren't stable. And that's your first chakra. That's your root chakra. You have to have stability and safety. And if you don't have that, you can't grow, and you can't turn into the flower that all the rest of the chakra systems need in order to really flourish. And you got to give them some freaking slack, y'all. Like, stop being so mean to the older generations because they're just stuck in their ways and they don't know and they won't grow. Well, I feel like you need to look at yourself right now with that energy, and what did you lack in life that you didn't receive, and how can you repair that in you? Let's stop trying to repair everybody else. Let's really try to repair ourselves, and then love people from there.
Love people from there. And like, you know, they were the World War II generation, and women, like, we couldn't even talk about miscarriage. Like, they buried their babies under rose bushes and popped Valiums and didn't talk about it. And abuse was very normal. And like, you know, orphans were sold on trains to go do hard labor, you know, still like within 100 years of now. Like, you know, it's like we have barely crossed this threshold. But we're so angry, you know, at the abuse that has happened, but we don't find the compassion for what they went through to make them that way. And then we also don't give them permission to just be, or to be respectful of their choices.
I'm sorry. I love your dog because it has the same energy of Rocky. It's like, okay, Mom, you have talked enough. I need attention. Time up.
Well, one of my other dogs downstairs barked. Someone was probably walking by. So then she was napping and had to go be on alert too. You know how they work. But back to our elders, you know, they earned their stripes, and it's important we respect them and understand, you know. I was just talking about this with a couple of great friends on Facebook, and they were having like a healthy debate about it. And I think there was something like Ram Dass said, is that like, you think you're healed, you think you're enlightened, you think you're spiritual, go visit your parents, go visit your family. Because when you can walk in and be with your family and friends and not get triggered anymore about things that used to trigger you or make you feel small, and you only find compassion and love for them, or, you know, if they haven't changed and they're still being a jerk to you or whatever, it's your response to them has changed, and you're able to see, oh, I see what broke you. I see what made you this way. I see what makes you want to stick in this belief or this fear, but that's okay. You do you, I do me. I love you, but I'm not going to change. I'm not going to, you know, talk about this or that. And you just lead by example and say, let's find things we can talk about. Time out. Exactly.
So like this last, I mean, with you talking about this, we also kind of, and I'm probably once again going to get completely mutilated for this. This last,
well, we're releasing that fear, right? It's time to speak our truth.
So like, this last election and stuff like this, I saw this so big. I really feel like we need to get back into a space where if we can't respect people in what they believe, we need to stop bringing it up and talking about it. You know, the one thing that our ancestors had right was that we don't talk about religion or politics. And spirit still holds that belief. When I channel, and I got to tell y'all, once again, I'm not right. They're right. I'm not the know-it-all. They're the ones that give me the information. And they said, don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion, because there are always going to be somebody who disagrees with you every single time. And so you live your truth, you do what you do, and you understand that it just is what it is. If they have to bring it up for a specific reason, it's always brought up with love and healing and understanding. So the person who's here getting the message can feel understanding in themselves based on something that they know. But at the same time, you know, there were people that I saw like hating their family so much. And like, you know, I told them that I'm not going to allow them at my Thanksgiving dinner because they believe in this, and this is what we believe in, and everybody. And I'm like, why can't we just have Thanksgiving dinner now? Like, why is it your business what other people think and feel about a specific law or person or politician? What the hell makes that your effing business? Excuse my French, but come the hell on. Well, how egotistical of you to sit on your high horse and talk about somebody else's flaws for believing in this specific thing when you're the one that's got the problem. Be a nicer human and shush.
It doesn't even matter what side of the pendulum you're on. If you're putting that energy out there, you're fighting hate with hate, you know. The people who change are the people who just speak their truth and get curious. Like if I'm in a conversation with people who we share different beliefs, I'll be like, yeah, you know, I used to think that, but you know, I've learned some other things. I've expanded now. And now, you know, I'm much more open to this perspective. And, you know, this resonates as a little true for me, but like, we don't have to agree on that. And I love you. I honor you. And like, let's talk about a chocolate cake recipe or I don't know. Let's talk about sacred sage, or there's so many other amazing things that humans connect on. But it's also, we have to be aware. We have to be aware of all the programs we're being fed. And I believe very much we're all being taught very much that we're all being taught to, you know, divide and conquer right now. And if we're all fighting with each other and ourselves, then we're, you know, not co-creating this new peaceful land that, you know, we wouldn't be subservient to the current systems too. So it's important to be really aware of where all this is coming from, where you're getting your information, what you're allowing. I don't care. I work really fiercely, you know, with sex trafficking survivors, and I know it runs rampant still everywhere. And I know horrible things that happen. And when I sit with clients, we talk about some really crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, thank you so much for being brave enough to share. And at the end of the day, all those things that still happen to them, you know, were in the past, and it's important to cut the cords, and them just speaking their truth helps to heal things and helps to heal them. And it's important to be mindful around it. And when we, you know, get into politics and religion and things like that, you know, it trickles through, and there's truth to all of that. And there's reasons why, you know, people feel the way they feel about certain things. And there's reasons why certain agendas get pushed. There's reasons why we, you know, technically haven't found the cure to cancer yet and things like that, you know? And so it's so important that we just, you know, pay attention and maybe look at somebody else with love and curiosity. And instead of saying like, you know, trying to argue with them, because it's always like, why do you believe that? And then they're like, oh, well, you just saw that meme on Facebook and you just found that out, so you're just gonna jump on the bandwagon, aren't you? You know, but it's like, maybe it was a seed, maybe, who knows? But why judge it if you're stepping into this judgmental space and not letting people just live and let live and explore? All you can do is lead by example and say, I did some research and I have a different opinion now. But we don't need to argue about it or hate each other about it or anything like that. And this past election was a rough one, and this whole COVID season was a rough one. And, you know, I believe very much that we're meant to mend after this, and we're meant to build a bridge back to one another. Because when it comes down to it, the reason you're angry and pissed off is because you all love each other, because you actually care about what, you know, each other and what each other thinks. And I'm sorry, if you're driving down the road and there's a huge accident and people need help, like, and there's an emergency, you're going to see two people, with one with a Biden sticker and one with a Trump sticker, pull right up and do the best they can with their beautiful hearts and help out, you know? So like, we do. And, you know, and it's important to pay attention to social issues. It's important to make this world a better place, but it's also important to meet each other with love and forgiveness and understanding. And if you want to heal and you want to, you know, transform your life and yourself, like, yes, having healthy boundaries are important, but also doing the work enough to not let the people in your life who triggered you before trigger you anymore. That's finding true peace. That's that whole Ram Dass moment of go visit your family, because you'll be truly, you know, at peace at that point. And what they say, you just meet with love and compassion and kindness. And if you take it personally, it's like, oh, trigger, opportunity to learn. Like, this is for, you know, if I get triggered, I'm like, and a little deeper, got to keep going. And, you know, you can do that with your own medicines and your own space and stuff. And if people, you know, don't stop, or they're relentless or they're abusive, saying, all right, love you, bye. We can't have this talk right now. Everyone can walk away and not engage.
I just love that, because I've put it out there so many times. I'm like, I feel like I get the angriness. Like, I get people, I get this, because most of the time it's just not understanding perspective, or perception is reality. You know, perception is real. I don't know what it's like to be a Black man raised in the mean streets of some place in New York that's like in the ghetto, or what's considered. I don't know what that's like. I'm a white girl from Charlotte, Michigan, who's never had any of those issues. And so how can I sit over here and base my understanding on my life and my life alone? Like, bro, we have to be willing to hear other people talk about how it was for them, because in that melting pot of information, knowledge, and feeling and openness, you know, that's where we really grow. You have to drop your own ego and what you know to be true based on where you were raised, because we weren't raised the same. And so I really would love to have so many people, you know, I get on TikTok and I see all these amazing, wonderful people. I love the energy of the different races and cultures and everybody kind of coming together and trying to do something. But I'm still so scared to ask questions, because I'm like, I know I'm going to fuck up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to misword. I'm going to use inappropriate racial slurs that I don't know are racial at this point, which is probably stupid, but I still have that thing that is just like, and teach me. And I really, really love that there are so many people that are willing to talk to somebody. Yeah, they get attacked by 8 million people, but then they have that one person that stands up and says, okay, so I hear you, I understand you, and I see you. And I'm like, yes, this is what I'm trying to create, because it takes a village. God damn it, excuse my French, but it takes a freaking village. And I'm part of the children that need to be villaged, okay? I'm part of that.
I say that all the time with you guys. I'm like, we needed a mom right now, or someone who shows up or helps, or, we needed this dad energy or this whatever. You are. We're all the children cast out by the village. We're all burning. We're all... Nobody feels accepted or loved or, protected. And it's true. We are all the children. We're all trying to heal our inner children and get back to that. And it's hard because we're taught to be so gossipy and scrutinizing, and we hate people just because of what other people have said about them. And, not even because of our own experiences with them. And we still are repeating that.
It's just so crazy how it's just been like over, I don't know, the past 100 years. I know it's been alive for a lot longer, but at the same time, we really started to grow and expand. I remember being a kid in the 80s, and every single person in my town hated the gays and all these explicits. And I remember thinking at like 6 years old, what is wrong with you people? Like, they're just people. I really wanted somebody who hated them to explain to me why I should hate them too. And nobody could give that to me. And that has always drove me nuts. Like, it literally drove me insane, being surrounded by people that hated people just because of something that I shouldn't even know exists anyway. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. It's not my business. If you want to talk about it, then I'm here to listen. I'll listen to you if that's something you need to talk about. If you feel like you need to speak and need to come clean and need to share your energy and, come out of the closet and be loud and proud and happy with who you are, I will sit there with a flag and like, I don't care what you need. I will mom the hell out of you and sit with your proud ass while you explain and express away. But at the end of the day, I don't give two shits. It's their life. It's what they do. Every single person on this planet has the right to live their life the way that they want to. Just be a good human. Like, at the end of the day, do your best.
Be a good human.
Like,
and we're taught all these social structures, and we're taught with sex, like, don't have a lot of sex and this and that because you can reproduce and that's your only job with your sexual body and whatever. I believe very much the reason we're all sexual and horny and explore ourselves as children and infants, as soon as you can touch any part of, whether it's your toe or your private parts or whatever it is. And then our Kundalini energy is connected very much to our root chakra, and we connect to our higher selves and healing via that sexual energy and stuff. So, the fact that so many people feel so much guilt, shame, and all these things around it, it's keeping us very bound at this time. And it's important to open it up and to take a look at that. And with the whole, gay movement or whatnot, or this or that, it's been something that's been in our society forever, for a really long time, and in different ways. And then, through mostly the church and the patriarchy, we were taught that was evil or bad or this or that. When I was a little kid, I couldn't understand it because I was the same kid, 80s, 90s baby, and I was like, and I still think this. And I was talking to a couple people recently, because there's still a lot of people who think it's a disorder, or there's something wrong with you, or this or that, or something must have happened.
Not born that way. You just choose
I'm like,
it.
what if we are overpopulated? And what if instead of, a virus having to come take us all out and depopulate us, what if God just gave us a lot of people who are able to love anybody, so that we can not over reproduce right now, so that we can really love and clean up all of the people who need all of the extra love right now. Like, I see, the people who are gay or on the LBGT community, Q community, whatever it is. I can't keep up with it. I'm sorry. I love you all.
I know. I love you.
Magical light workers and lovers and people here to just bring more freaking love. Like, why does it have to be a bad thing or an evil thing or something wrong with you? Maybe each of us have our own beautiful divine soul purpose, and maybe we're meant to adopt or rock a baby. Maybe we're meant to, show a different type of perspective. But if people are coming in with a good moral compass and heart and love and wanting to just make the world a bit of a better place, then live and let live. If you cause intentional harm, then I have an issue with you, and we got to talk about it. Kind of thing is how I feel. And at the same time, even with that intentional harm, if you're listening and you're someone who has been, hurt or a victim or whatever, if somebody has intentionally harmed you, No, it was a reflection of them and the lack of love that they have for themselves at this time. And that you
Absolutely.
actually taking it on, remembering it, and letting their opinion influence your precious vessel and your beautiful mind and heart and soul and spirit, then it does you a disservice. And the real ninja warrior training and challenge is to say, ooh, I'm not taking that on. I love you. I send it every time I want to say fuck you, I say love you. And I
have the
transmute
day
that
you
energy
deserve.
and send it out. And I do, because like the you energy is like that anger, resentment, like, ugh. And then I'm like, nope, like this isn't what I need to be feeling in my vessel right now. And what just happened? And you know what? Like, I can choose to take this person, I cannot. If I screw up, I take it to heart. I'm honest. I'm like, I screwed that up. I need to change my perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, I'm going to grow from this. And I'm sorry if I hurt you. And, you communicate that the best you can. But it's being like, we like the word radical, Crystal and I, but it's being radically responsible for your own energies, thoughts, and feelings and impressions. And then what you let yourself believe about yourself. Even if you've been around the worst people who have cut you down your whole freaking life, you still have a choice to cut that cord and start fresh and new and reprogram yourself to believe in yourself.
Yes, I'm a horrible, nasty talker to myself. Ben and I just had that talk yesterday. I'm like, oh, when I do something, it's weird because I feel like I was, it's that sarcasm. It's that joking, but not joking, passive aggressive behavior that we're kind of taught, which is toxic as all hell, listener people. I'm just going to say, like, when I do something, and it can be something as stupid as like forgetting a cup to take it into the kitchen when I go into the kitchen. So I have to make a second trip. I'm like, oh, you're so stupid. And I'm like, hold, Crystal, you're not stupid. You're a forgetful person and you just forgot your cup. Let's stop talking about ourselves like that. I love you. And every time I do that, I pat on my chest, like, I love you, because I need to feel it. I need to understand it in that moment. And it's really funny. Also going to say, I love how you put that, because I feel like this is a whole nother conversation we need to have at some point in time.
Maybe our next episode.
I was like, my guides have told me sometimes, and truthfully, I'm just going to tell y'all before I do this once again, public service announcement. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any of you people. So don't hate me for this. Nobody has anything wrong with them on this earth. Nobody, not one of you. But my guides have told me that sometimes people, like, when it comes to transgender, sometimes they hop into the body very fast. Okay. And so think about this. Crystal has always talked about being a masculine energy. I don't mesh well with women. I just don't mesh. Even me, I don't feel like a freaking goddess. I don't want to be a goddess. That's not my energy. That's not who I am. I'm not comfortable with that. And so, what if I hopped into my body a little too soon and I was a male in my past life? And I'm like, what the hell's going on with me? I'm not a freaking woman. What the hell? This doesn't feel right to me. There's so many different variations of what's happening behind the scenes that we humans don't understand. And so we have to take everything with a grain of salt. And I'm just going to say, this is my answer to anybody that has a problem. You say you believe in God, and if you believe in God, you can't question what he creates. Every single one of us are made within the image of what you say this is. And so if you believe in the Bible, you also have to believe God doesn't make mistakes. And so who the hell are you to call God out on him and what he creates? You don't have that right. I don't have that right. You're all fucking beautiful and love yourselves no matter what anybody tells you. And if they have a problem, once again, I'll be there holding the flag and be your honorary mom. I don't even care. I love you regardless. So it is what it is.
All babies are divine. You are meant to be here, however you came in, whatever, even if you've had a absolutely horrible life, there's beauty and purpose behind your pain. And, it's so important to trust in the plan and trust that, we are meant to be here. Now, at the same time, there is an opportunity with that trust, once you find the trust, to also co-create with the magical energies of this universe and to manifest and to work for what it is you do want to bring in and follow the whispers of your soul that are leading you to what it is you came to do here in this lifetime. But it takes a lot of, a lot of work and effort sometimes to
Oh, Mandee paused.
Oh, we're here.
There we go. I was like, oh, she paused.
Pause. I was just saying, that, sometimes we can be bound by other people's opinions of us or what they
Mhm.
think, what they might think. We're really good at making shit up in the future of what so-and-so might think about us if we do this.
My
And that
words,
doesn't,
I'm
he doesn't
horrible
even
at them.
exist yet. We co-create it if we do that.
Like I pointed out before, I'm the one that needs the village. I'm the children. So please village me. And then I went on to say you people, which is 100% going to be like bombarded with hate, because I hope people understand. I mean, all people, I don't care who you are, whether I don't care what you are. But at the same time, I also know that was
that
my
one's on the naughty
earlier.
list.
I was like, so like me before I said, I know I still say things that are 100% the wrong thing to say. And I'm trying my hardest, but you got to understand it's in the DNA. And even you can try and still slip up and understand the intentions were not that. So
I'm over
my
the right
intentions
thing
were
and the
not
wrong
that.
thing to say. I'm over it. Like, it's all about how you feel. Like if someone, like, the C word is the worst word in the world. And for me, it's never been a charge to me. It's never bothered me. I don't give a shit. Like I use other language and whatnot. And our words are powerful and potent. And we are incredible sorcerers and sorceresses with our words. And spelling really is casting energy out into the universe. So it's important to be mindful. But at the same time, it's about the intention and the connotation that goes along and is paired with, like, you know, the words that you're using and the energy that's flowing out of you. So when I use a curse word or whatever, a lot of times it's to break up, lighten the energy, make myself laugh. Like it has a different, it's not there to hurt or offend or be mean to anyone.
Right.
Like most of the time when I'm like with a friend or whatever, or family member or whatever, I'm like, oh, fuck you. Like, you know, like, whatever. Like, oh, you know, are you?
Oh. Mandee froze again.
And we can't go wrong.
Right. You froze again for a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like
it's retrograde. Whatever.
I was like, it's been a day like that. My electronics have been all over the place. Well, my dear, we have been here for an hour, and this was a wonderful experience. Today was fun for me. Like I said, it was all over the place. But it was fun to have this chat with you because I think a lot of things got addressed that maybe people need to hear. So I'm grateful for that because I know my clients do. So thank you. Where can people find you, my dear?
People can find me on SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. We also have Facebook and Instagram, Sea Goddess Healing Arts, and it would be an honor. I'm an intuitive empowerment guide, so that's basically a life coach with a spiritual twist. We take a look at your personal ascension journey. Sometimes I'll see past lives. We can ask any questions. Sometimes we'll have visitors from ancestors and things, but it's all about you and your personal path and why things are happening the way they are and what's going on and how we can find direction and purpose and restore your light or get you on a healing path or find a missing piece or whatever it is. And we're offering all kinds of shows, including this beautiful co-collaboration here with Crystal. And so there's lots of free resources and community events. I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So at the South Jersey Shore here, we're going to be doing lots of things and lots of opportunities to connect. What about you? How can people find you, Crystal?
You can find me at Mitten Medium. You can also find me at Mitten Medium with Spirit Speaks. I don't know. Spirit Speaks with Mitten. I'll put our links down at the bottom so you don't have to think too much about it. I don't even know who I am. Remember? Too many names. Do you have your TikTok yet?
Not yet. TikTok challenge is on.
Okay, awesome. Because I can't wait. They have a group of beautiful people that are all working together. And so I'm hoping it's a collab with all of these people. They had a drumming circle this weekend. So if you're in the New Jersey area, I don't know what it is. Find them, please, because I'm like, I'm there in spirit. I'm there in spirit.
Oh, sister, you are so in spirit. You are a lighthouse at the Michigan shore. Do you live near the ocean or near the lake where you live?
Nope, I'm right here.
You're right in the middle of the Mitten.
I'm right in the middle. Mitten. Yep, I am right in the middle. It's funny how many people don't know what that means. I'm like, I'm a mitten, mitten, right in the middle.
I had no idea until I started working with you, and then I was like, I can get it now.
So, I mean, like, I guess if you're from Michigan, you're the only one that uses the map as your hand, but at the same time, I thank you so very much. I hope you have a blessed, beautiful, wonderful night, my dear. And as always, it was super fun to do this.
Always. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners.
next week we can do this live. Hopefully we can do a live feed of this.
We're manifesting live, so send us your good juju, people.
Yeah, send us the good juju and also give us followers on our YouTube page. Share with your friends and get us followers, because if we get 1,000 subscribers on either my YouTube or Mandee's YouTube, it doesn't matter which comes first. We can
go live, apparently.
Yes, we can go live on YouTube, and then we can actually interact with you guys. So share, and get us some subscribers. Okay. Thank you guys so very much. Love you. Hope you all have a great night too. It was nice chatting with you, Mandee.
You too. Take care.
Bye.